Hey there, it's Chef Prue. I've got an exciting recipe to present to you today on how to build one of these all-inclusive live, work, play, learn campuses using LTHS. And this would be a new model for a workforce, for a company. And this would be for those businesses and organizations that are looking to consider upgrading from their current legacy organization and introduce the power of story engineering to achieve tremendous benefits. Prerequisite to this is the intro to layered ternary harmony story and applying it into daily life that I have posted here at my Facebook or at my YouTube channel. So, why would any company, why would any organization be interested in looking at the possibility of upgrading to layered ternary harmony story? Well, first and foremost, the tremendous savings to their operating costs. In fact, it's quite possible to achieve even beyond the 75% savings. Moving their organization to a no stress, no fault, very relaxed, all-inclusive kind of living. This could greatly improve the ability to recruit and retain talent. It could lead to recruiting a new type of talent, those looking to make a difference to their communities and to the planet and to simplify their lives, versus those that are, let's call it the conquering type, which might have every bit as much talent as the other, but with very different intentions, leading to problems and drama for the company down the line, as we can see in the news so often. We're leveraging LTHS, which represents the newest and latest technologies in a consciousness, to implement an engineering at a story level, a new level of how we view and manage ourselves, to create and introduce new layers of treasure that are green. They're good for the planet. They're things where everybody wins, basically making the decision to be part of the solution and not part of the problem in terms of our planet and humanity and nature today. Without going in too much detail, the detail belongs in that intro to layered ternary harmony story, but I will just mention that what it is a reasoning motor. It's a reasoning motor that allows us to park our beliefs into a story that is backed up by observable, scientific knowledge. In fact, all current accepted scientific observation plus modern day computing technology architectures. This motor relies on these two foundations to deliver to us an ability to move into something new as a very real world. Within this architecture, there's an introduction, basically a layering of the story and story consciousness onto our current understanding of the physical universe, which basically story is software, story consciousness is CPU. And within all of that is the identification of paradise story, ever expanding harmony story, observable. It is the highest story. It is the story that is our sponsor, our creator. The last thing I want to mention on what's important about all this is it changes our view of our universe from the physical world to a universal computing world. And it changes our focus from looking at the physical world, which really represents the wake of a boat moving forward. We're looking backwards, and we turn our attention around and start looking forward through that boat for the first time in a scientific and technological way, so that we're able to see a new landscape out there and better decide where we want to go and how to get there. All of that is shown here. This is the architecture of LTHS, showing the stories, if you will, which flow across through like sheet music along these lines, which represents layers of our universe, increasing layers of complexity, harmony, and consciousness, all the way from nothing itself, which would be the story world, to the creation of our physical world through Big Bang, the energy it produced, the hydrogen, the hydrogen molecules, the helium, the stars, which then produce the elements, on up. Each time seeking higher and ever higher harmony and consciousness in an escape from a prior state of some sort of deficit, if you will, some sort of suffering. This is a universal story that is observable from day one of our physical universe. Additionally, we see the stories cycling through in 4 seasons, much like the 4 seasons we experience in our daily lives. These are universal stories, universal cycles. You could say it's the heartbeat of our universe. And you can see here in that pink column with a reasoning module on this, where that LTHS reasoning motor plugs in, delivering a real life experience to what our new found story delivers to us. Basically, totally re-engineering our imaginary world senses to equal them in reality to our physical world senses. All right. I mentioned the increasing layers of harmony and consciousness, and here just a slide that walks you through it from Big Bang to helium, then moving up into immediately forming itself into into a hydrogen molecule, and then from there we see hydrogen and helium becoming stars, producing our heavier elements all the way up through 92, spewing themselves out into the universe, and those elements becoming molecules, including water, including really complex molecules that are planets and that are moons. And then from that we see the DNA, RNA molecules arising, introducing a new layer of complexity and consciousness to the universe, working its way all the way up through viruses, bacteria, cells, bodies, colonies of bodies, and these sorts of things, all the way up through self-consciousness, recognizing the self through a mirror, and then to the greater consciousnesses of that, recognizing that there's something greater than us, then all the way to this very moment where we are connecting all the dots and realizing we're one unified consciousness. These ever-increasing layers of harmony that we are seeing natural progression through in escape from disharmony of a prior state. This is the motor that has driven us in progress. And as we look at that, we can quickly come up with a list of known forces, known behaviors that produce harmony, contribute to harmony, and their lack of being a part of the overall system that we're looking at. We know that it produces disharmony, and we know that disharmony produces correction by higher story. So through this, we become the higher story. We become the correction force into harmony, universally, at whatever we're looking at. Because these are universal behaviors. They layer on top of anything from an atom to a machine to an organization to a civilization. And we take those known harmony forces and we apply them to every aspect of our organization. And what we're doing now is we are introducing now the power of story energy, green, unlimited, free story energy into our organizations with the new tools provided by LTHS to then now basically put in a new motor into our organization and reap tremendous benefits from it. It requires an engineering, not just from the top down, beginning with the very markets we serve, but also from the bottom up, from the communities where we reside to the workforce, to the customers, to the planet, to the nature that exists alongside of us. That is top-down, bottoms-up engineering. Once we do that from the top down, from Paradise Story down, and from nature, planet, children, the elders up, if we do that, then everything that operates within that space is going to be guaranteed to be a good solution for everything between those 2 points. It's just setting 2 points and drawing a line, but now we're doing it in a story engineering dimension for maximum benefits to our company. We're leveraging a new technology, a new motor that's in the invisible world, but every bit as real as everything we've ever done. In fact, our current companies are based on such a motor. It just happened without our conscious awareness of it. Now we're becoming conscious of it. We're looking at ourselves in the mirror for the first time, and now we're seeing we need a haircut, we need a shave, etc. This is what we're doing, but at a planetary consciousness level, introducing a new layer of story as a valid source of energy. Okay, so we've gotten ourselves to this point, and now what I plan to do is try to walk through an imaginary all-inclusive live, play, learning campus to try to bring to life something that it exists in specks, in fragments and flickers. But what we're doing now is we're throwing a story motor over it, and we're going to shrink wrap all that into one body to reap maximum benefits of engineering this thing into as high efficiency as possible and as much abundance and productivity as possible out of this thing by conscious design. All right, we'll walk through this now. Okay, so as we walk through this, imagine a beautiful resort, sprawling resort in a really special, idyllic place, relaxed. A few of the places that come to mind is South Seas Captiva Resort, for any of you lucky enough to have experienced it. UC Santa Cruz campus, imagine something that might look a bit like that. Or even that beautiful Navy base in Key West. Imagine that this place is placed in a place where there's abundant access to water, abundant access to climate, abundant access to fertile lands, pest-free, where there's a bunch of spraying that's going to be needed. Yeah. Imagine this place as being self-sufficient. At some point, completely self-sufficient. Um, green, planet and environment friendly, harmonious, and in there's freedom, lots of leisure time, and plenty of abundance, and all of those things that make life wonderful. Much like being at an all-inclusive resort. And imagine this thing being something that's scalable from a small village all the way up to these big, dense megacities. Okay, we're going to telescope in even further. Inside of that, we're organized with basically a daily operations, followed with whatever administrative is needed for that. And if we're a campus, or whatever it is, we are that outer layer of services, if you will, that we're offering to the outside world. So what we're going to do now in this overall structure of our organization, campus, is we're going to introduce the power of story engineering to this. So what I'm going to do now here is show you within these rings. You see some stronger lines around some of the rings representing hard separations. So currently, we've got a company. It's part of a community. Each employee gets paid a paycheck. From that paycheck, they go off and they find a place to stay. They pay rent. They pay utilities. It's piece parted out to a bunch of independent transactions, all of them with maybe some sort of redundancy, competition, a lot of waste. It's not really that streamlined at all. But each thing might be streamlined within itself, but not collectively, really. Loose parts of cities, all of this on a thread of whether this thing is profitable or not in a monetary way by a system we've artificially created to support this. Okay, our legacy system right now. That's what I've just described. You can see on the right, I'm introducing the targets that we're setting for ourselves that are a deeper tunneling in of the harmony forces that we've just learned about. And then on the left side, we see the stages of this self-sufficiency, of this all-inclusiveness, of this concept, where stage one being the decision to move forward on it, beginning the design of this thing, and maybe communicating it to the world. Stage two, you're already now recruiting talent to build this thing out. You're targeting the areas where you believe would make a good place for these campuses. You're securing the property. You're beginning the building out. Stage three, you are now recruiting in the talents that are going to be needed for your daily operation, for your learning centers, for your outdoors adventures, all of these things. You're recruiting these things in, and you are now moving in, opening for business, and you are now offering this as an option to your legacy workforce. You might at this time also begin to, after some experience with it, gaining some confidence, you may move to all new hires are going to be under this model moving forward, and allowing your legacy to either trickle in or eventually retire on into normal attrition. Finally, stage four, full transition. Everybody, the whole workforce is in there. Everything is self-sufficient now at all levels. The energy, the services, the administration, the medical, the learning. There's no outsourcing of things. This is a full self-sufficient now ecosystem organization. That what we've done now is we've rewrapped the entire thing to take ownership of the entire thing and bring the tremendous benefits of organizing, as we've done in our business world, but pointing that now to a story engineered system to produce tremendous benefits across the board, including to the nature, to our communities, to planet Earth. Okay, continuing to visualize this. So we're imagining this idyllic campus, and what it means to the workforce is we're dealing now with a part-time volunteer workforce, and for those of you that know what the Woofer program is, or Help Exchange, where you are exchanging some hours of volunteer work in exchange for room and board at some really fun place. It's something that I've done and I continue to do whenever possible. It's super fun for all ages and for all types. It's even more fun than the traditional visit of a place. This concept exists today, and this concept here of a all-inclusive live, work, play, learn model is an expansion of that. So we're agreeing to a minimum of hours, monthly hours, which might be quite flexible. If there's some tipping involved for anything extra, that's fine too. It's not the point of this, but that makes it fun. Fun money instead of money needed to pay the rent. Agree to a minimum of common conditions, including these abiding by the harmony forces, a no fault, no stress, an at-will type of, almost like signing a waiver when you go to a ski resort, for instance, where we kind of all know that this is we're kind of outside of our normal bubble, but hey, we're all responsible for ourselves here now, and no one's going to take offense. So continuing on, the organization takes care of all the legal and tax implications for anything within that bubble, so it stays harmonious within whatever environment it's currently in, versus being a threat or an antagonist to it. Religious exemptions for this community, for this new way of life, to accommodate the LTHS beliefs, the universal beliefs that are quite different than our current oppressive separation-based system, as it applies to our sovereignty, to our family, to how we see our village, to how we see ourselves, to how we see God, to how we see sex, to how we see our sacred connections and the molecules of consciousness such as THC, psilocybin, LSD, and DMT. A very different world, isn't it? All of it based on observable science and modern day technology. Okay, continuing on with this visualization, so the experience would be much like working part-time at a all-inclusive resort. Delicious, wonderful, with an all-inclusive built-in world-class learning center, university, offering online and in the real world opportunities for everyone on campus to learn, continuous learning, all ages, workshops, online things, lectures, labs, studios, apprenticeships, specialties, the whole works. The sky's the limit now, because we're in a newly engineered story, leveraging the power of story. This campus, of course, there's bicycles, it's walkable, there aren't a bunch of cars throughout. It's got an abundant, vibrant downtown with a daily all-weather market, lots of cultural and leisure venues. This is definitely something that everybody that's there is enjoying thoroughly and vested in. There's outdoor adventures right there as a part of it. And there's something there for everyone. It's organized in such a way where you have that base of the pyramid, you have that middle, and you have that top. You have that everyday you have that middle shelf and the top tier, the gold, the silver, the bronze, the copper, so that there's something there for everyone. And you enhance all of that with an online connected application. Much like an Uber, but this is for this campus where you can connect in live to any of your needs and just plug right into the next scuba lesson, the next whatever. See what the education, what the calendar looks like, what the lab hours are, whatever. Communicate with each other, etc. You know, layering that all out into a spreadsheet, into you know, our current view of how we see our organizations. I'm choosing to use the recent quarterly earnings from Alphabet and just plug them in. You can see the legacy column, 46 billion revenue with a total cost of 36, producing a net earnings of 10 billion. So as we take that legacy organization and imagine it, and using our imagination, we start transitioning it over. We transition to stage one. We're still seeing that same, maybe even a slight uptick in expenses with this new recruiting and some of the costs. But then stage two, we've gotten this thing built out, and we've already now gotten the first crop of folks that have moved in. And we start offsetting some of our operating costs, primarily in salaries, but not just with salaries. And we see the earnings having gone up almost double. Continuing on, stage three of our transition to an all-inclusive LTHS campus, and we see further dramatic reductions as we move all of our workforce perhaps onto this now, and we move almost all of our own self-sufficient needs of energy and these things onto this. And then finally stage four, where we are fully transitioned, entirely self-sufficient ecosystem that is now a world of stories that takes care of one another in there, outside of this artificial bubble that we had created. And now within that expanded bubble, we've transformed to where there's a richer life for our workforce, richer delivery of products, richer neighbor behaviors for our neighborhood and environment, and at the same time we've driven out the cost to produce that. That savings is then, instead of it poured into the pockets of our current billionaires, it's poured back into our campuses, expanding the campuses, seasonal campuses, new research and development, new innovations, new excursions, new abundance for these campuses, offering it to more people, offering more services, or just pulling back our schedules and offering less to the outside world to lighten the load of everyone and lower the hours and requirement, and pull back and continue to breathe and let our environment and nature breathe. All of this thanks to the power of green story energy. It's a new energy that's available to us thanks to LTHS. It's the same one used by nature to produce this beautiful planet that we all enjoy without anyone having to work at it. It was by design thanks to story energy. Well, I hope that was interesting to some of you, or even to all of you. And if you would like to connect with me, please feel free to do so at email. And this white paper is not yet up, but I'm committed to posting it. It's nearly complete. I'm committed to posting that link. And if the conference happens as planned in December, come see us at the Science of Consciousness Conference, where we'll be presenting at the poster presentation session. Thank you.